you want to run the meeting or I run the meeting?
Sure, I can run it. Either is fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go ahead. Thanks.
All right. So the first item on the agenda is already taken care of. Thank you, Don. Update for the CAP for dynamic resource allocation. The second one is kubelet context plumbing from David. And I noticed that, Don, you approved that PR. So I think that's also all set. And yeah, hopefully that'll give us like end-to-end visibilities into the spans when using open telemetry. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember many years ago, my intern did the first version, and David convinced my intern not using that one, using open telemetry. That's long time ago. Then later he have the demo. I took Kubernetes. So David joined today's meeting. I'm so excited. And then he have the demo at the I think it's the Kubernetes community, right? So for everybody. So that's exciting moment. And finally we get here formally. David, do you want to say something? You want to ask SIG Node what kind of what's your plan or something? Anything you want to share on this one?
Oh, we can't hear you. No luck. So sorry, your work speaks for itself, I guess. We'll wait for David. Okay, I think he's weak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello? Okay, no idea what was wrong. So I mostly just wanted to provide context because it was a multi-thousand line code change. This actually doesn't do any tracing at all. This is just context plumbing, which is a prerequisite for any tracing that we want to do. I'm hoping that I'll probably actually hold off adding spans and maybe make some updates to the KEP so everyone can discuss what they'd like to see from the tracing. But this will make it a lot easier if we have context plumbing.
So David, this covers kubelet down to the runtime, right? Like, or do we also get end-to-end from the API?
So you can get end-to-end. Can you? I don't actually think so.
Yeah, because we don't share the context, right?
Right. So in theory, with something like an exec call, it might be possible to do end-to-end because that goes API server to etcd, then, or no, not to etcd, API server to the kubelet itself. But for like creating a pod or something, this definitely wouldn't be end-to-end. And that's not part of what's planned in the near future, at least. So this is just, actually, I gave this at KubeCon, but I can bring it back up. I actually pasted it in the issue as well. So there's a picture of what you can get. Let me see.
If you want, you can share here. Maybe
okay.
make
You'll have to allow me.
Yeah, and also add the link later to this. You can share. No.
Okay, can everyone see?
Yep.
Yeah.
And okay, and everyone can still hear me too. This is what we have right now, which is just each CRI call in its own trace. And if you add a parent span, it doesn't really matter where, as long as it's like at the beginning of when you're starting to do something, then you can actually connect all of the CRI spans together in a single graph. So this is mostly what I'm after with the context change. But while implementing it, I think there's a lot of other things we could trace as well. For example, you could see in a single trace a pod eviction if you wanted, including like getting stats from the CRI and then actually making the calls to terminate a pod in the container runtime. So all of that's possible here, but the context plumbing is important so that you have a single Golang context that ends up being passed to all of these calls.
So we are more and more. So David, since you also involved long time back, involved with the GPU support, like Orange GPU support. So you involved with the device plugin, right? We have the more and more component might go to like the separate daemon and like device plugin. So how do you think about for those kind of things, like a giving pod or giving container to manage their life cycle, or associate of those like the device plugin and CSI plugin, all those kind of things? Can we to some extent using same context?
We totally can.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's definitely something we should do. I had forgot about that. So maybe I should open an issue to track that.
Yeah, you track that. At least I want to see like the stateful side, how you help to debug a stateful side. Then once you give maybe like the one like ML workload, just give us idea like how to loop all those together. Like besides Kubernetes containerd, then there's some other plugin. So all together, so that's can hugely help our debuggability, right?
Yeah, so definitely it's easy to do other node level plugins like device plugin, CSI, CNI, those sorts of things should be really simple to add as long as we can plumb context. The more difficult piece would be connecting this to like a higher level Kubernetes concept like a stateful set. That's not possible today because we don't have context propagation implemented for objects. So probably to start with, we'll focus on the easy things to do, the low-hanging fruit, and maybe someday revisit context propagation for objects.
Yeah.
But cool. Any more questions? Otherwise, that's all I had. And thank you for the reviews.
Thanks, David.
Hi, David.
Go ahead.
Hey, David. Yeah, thanks for the PR for adding spans. So I'm interested. Mainly, I sent out a PR for adding spans on the containerd side. So while we are adding spans on both kubelet and like the runtime side as well, are there any recommendations, or is there any point where we need to work together to figure out like which part of containerd kubelet side is more interested in, or anything specific that we need to like collaborate on this?
You muted, David.
No, I'm not muted. I just haven't said anything yet. I don't know if there's too much coordination. I would mostly say the best places to add spans generally are whenever it crosses some like communication boundary. So like maybe you're making syscalls, or if there's communication between the containerd shims and like the overall containerd process or something like that, that would all be very useful to cover. I think if I remember correctly, one thing that we may have to solve is context propagation across, because doesn't containerd use a different, they don't use gRPC, but like a slimmed down version of it?
They do use gRPC. Like, are you talking about when it talks to runC, like through TTRPC?
Yes, that sounds familiar. But that might be something that might be a boundary that you'll want to trace, and also might be something that last time I tried this, which was 4 years ago, that you couldn't use the regular gRPC OpenTelemetry plugins for because like they'd gotten rid of headers or something. I don't remember what it was, but I don't know if it's trivial or not to make OpenTelemetry propagation work across that.
I see. Okay, thanks a lot. I'll probably reach out to you and like if I have any other questions, I'll ask you then.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, David. Moving on to the next topic, Vinay.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So for the in-place pod resize, I think we are 1 week away from code freeze now. And I figured out there was a flake in one of the scheduler tests that we added towards the end of last release, code freeze of last release. And I figured out the issue and I fixed that. What we need now is, I think we need to add we added a couple of tests. I think Raven has one test job enabled that runs every 2 hours. It runs all alpha. And I added one that's focused on only running the in-place pod resize for this test. It's about a 1.5 hour job, I believe it takes. And it runs on a 24-hour cadence. So either Revens or both, they seem to be a little bit complementary in some sense. If we add that, I'm wondering if that's sufficient for us to merge this code where we are at with thoughts of merging. It's getting we're getting close to the code freeze, so I'm wondering. It's Derek has to make the call now, right?
I'll talk with Derek, Vinay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll sync with him. And I think the test that you're adding, do we need to pull in a new version of containerd, or that's already there?
I think it pulls from main. So the main containerd branch, if I'm David Porter, if you're there, please correct me if I'm not saying the right things. But both jobs seem to pull the latest version of containerd from the main branch, which should have the support. And what I need to do for the test, which I'll complete today, is detect if it's containerd 1.6, the older versions, the COS 97 has 1.6x. And if we have 1.6.9 or above, then run the full E2E test, else do the limited E2E test. Because we are doing that, every time you do a pull request, it still runs that job which runs the current tests, and which that does everything. It looks at the C group to make sure that the resize has happened. The only thing that it skips is verifying that the pod status resources has been updated. That part is the one that gets added in when the CRI support is in. So I'll send that test update tonight. But the rest of the code, C group, I believe the code changes look good to you, Mrinal. Please correct me if I'm.
Yeah. So I took a look at the test, Vinay. I'll make another pass today, and I'm aware.
C group beta support.
Yeah.
So that, I think that covers all the things that I needed to bring up today.
All right. Thanks, Vinay. Folks that are reviewing Vinay's PR, please take a look, and I'll talk with Derek as well. We don't have a lot of time, so.
No, we don't, and I prefer it to be sooner. I'm out in December, and we want to get this in before. If there are any problems, I want to be here, and we should probably try to make it sooner than later. Thank you.
Thanks. Great. So that brings us to the end of the agenda. Do folks have any other topics they want to bring up? So I would just like to say that I think a bunch of us went to KubeCon, and we had a mini SIG Node meetup over a few days, and it was pretty good seeing everyone in person. And I'm hoping like some of those discussion will spill over into this meeting over the next few weeks.
Yeah, that was really great to meet a lot of us in person. We've been online for the past 2 years, and if it helps, 2 COVID negative tests from me, so I'm not giving you any unwanted gifts. It's too much alcohol in my blood. COVID can't survive it.
Manu, do you have meeting notes to share?
I I don't think we took notes. Probably Sasha, Sasha from Intel was everywhere. Sasha, did you take
Okay.
notes or it's all in his mind?
Mhm. I feel bad.
Well, actually, George Berkus took a note from his contributor summit session. He said what it will be published at some point, like to some place. But I can share a document in the chat.
Cool. Maybe I'm more curious about the people talking about the signal and our work or whatever concern on some question. Thanks, Alexander. I also feel bad because I remember I promised David Dashboard today he's here. I promised him I will attend physically, but at the end I couldn't. So I owe you a dinner, big dinner, next time you visit California.
Visit Europe.
Okay.
All right, folks, that's it. I think I would just encourage everyone to review. I'm spending a lot of time on the approval column today, and if folks need any help, like work with each other, and we can try to merge as much as possible.
Mm.
Right. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.